Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and yes, we're going back to our Medicaid series. In fact, we're getting towards the end of it here. But first, real brief disclaimer. Everything that we cover throughout the entirety of this Medicaid series, every single source you're going to find right up there in the description box. So should you like to do some deep diving or fact checking on your own, you're certainly going to be able to do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity, and some of the topics we cover, such as the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, does go into some very triggering subjects. So if you have a child that is 16 and younger and they are watching this, parental supervision, very obviously advised, alright? Alright, so I told you last week that we kind of went over the group homes a little bit, and now we're going to dig in a little bit more on the assisted living side. Assisted living is a little bit more complicated than in regards to group homes. Usually it is a collaborative effort. So you're not just looking at Medicaid, you're also looking at HUD. You are looking at the fact that some of these places are in and of themselves their own non-for-profit. So the local communities that they're going to be in, you might see donations coming in from neighbors and other people out in the area. You might see some help coming in specifically from what is called low-income housing tax credit, which we're going to be going over today specifically. And there's a few other things in there, but by and large, in regards to the assisted living facility buildings in and of itself, the bulk of the funding, from what they told me, at least in the construction of the building, is called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, or also known as LIHTC. So, what is that? And of course, I'm going to provide the link for this, as always, in the description box for you. This program provides federal and state tax credits to investors in affordable housing through an annual competitive application process. Once approved, the credit can be used each year for 10 years and is allocated to developers, who may then sell it to raise equity to construct or acquire and rehabilitate affordable rental housing. So what you're taking a look at here is incentives to developers out there to develop more different types of assisted living apartments, as well as regular public housing, by providing incentives by the means of tax credits. So you've got a developer that work together. Well, let me put it this way. My assisted living facility where I was at, the place called Crowhaven, the building and everything got together when you had a group of families, parents of kids with disabilities, that really combined all their money together to create a place that is, yes, assisted living, but was mainly to act as a transition service going from high school into the adult world for those of us with developmental disabilities, while having staff and whatever we need there to help us learn the skills we'll need to be able to live on our own, while having supports where we still need them. Because, yeah, you can't just jump out of high school and know everything about adulting. Granted, I was going to say I came pretty close. On the technical side, yes. On my social intelligence and the way I was just manipulated in ways that were not in my favor, not so much. So, yes, we are going, that's kind of the thing that they're talking about there. The group of families pulled their money together, got a hold of some developers out in the Nixa area, and worked to put the Crowhaven together. So, that particular, it's their board. now. The individuals that came together and put the money together to create that place are now what is called the board. So, ARC runs the service side. ARC controls who becomes the director, the assistant director. ARC helps in the choosing of CIs or direct care staff. Now, at a place like Crowhaven, usually I believe there was only about one or two of us that had direct care staff. Everybody else had CIs like myself. But that's how it works. So, you have ARC that handles the first initial screening of potential tenants to go into this transition program. And then if ARC likes you, ARC will then set up an appointment for you to go and speak with the director and assistant director of the program. If they like you, you get what is kind of like a group job interview. I don't know if you've ever done one of those before, but I have. But it seems very, very similar to that. So I came, all the board members put their money together to get that place up and off the ground running, developed and everything. I had to sit through an interview with them as well. So, multiple entities involved with a lot of these projects. Now, why am I telling you that, and what does that have to do with the price of eggs? Well, I'm glad you asked, because like I said, assisted living can be a little bit of a different creature than just your typical traditional group homes. So you're going to have more interest than just Medicaid funding. But when we're talking Medicaid, we are talking about, for example, help in regards to managing the maintenance of the building and the inside apartments. The bulk of the disability services being used by the tenants that are on the property. It funds the gas for your case manager to be able to get out there once a month to do a reevaluation of where you are in regards to your treatment program. That takes gas, that takes money, it's not cheap. Now, it doesn't cover the activities. Those are specifically funded either by us, the tenants ourselves, or maybe the board wants to fund something very specific. They may do that. We had a rainy day fund that we use once a month for one of the bigger trips, like going out to Branson, that sort of thing. But Medicaid covers maintenance of the building. Medicaid fundings any renovations that may be needed in case anyone who comes into Crowhaven might be someone who is a little bit mobility challenged. It covers who controls the staff. It covers, just about everything, but not quite. Because a lot of people in those assisted living facilities are also involved with HUD, Section 8, specifically Section 811. We'll get into that here a little bit more, probably I would say next Saturday. But let me go again and continue with this before I take you further into left field. The Qualified Allocation Plan, QAP, sets forth the selection criteria, federal preferences, and MHDC priorities for application selection. This plan is revised annually. Congress has delegated the administration of the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit to state housing agencies to assure that good quality housing would be available where it is most needed. MHDC is charged not only with the allocation of the credit, but also with assuring compliance with the regulations. This includes the performance of a physical inspection of the property and a review of management and occupancy procedures during the compliance period and the extended use period. So making sure everything is up to building code towards the beginning of the process, and making sure that it stays up to code afterwards. Ever have your city randomly do that fire hazard safety check if you live in an apartment? Okay, just Springfield is paranoid? Fair enough. Alright, so we've got a lot of information in regards to the low income housing tax credit. Usually you apply for that specifically online if you're looking to get started with an assisted living apartment program. So we're not going to go into really too much of that. But let me go back here to where we are. And I use Crowhaven because A, I used to live there, and B, I have very intimate knowledge in regards to where that funding goes to specifically because, again, I lived there, and towards the end, I was like almost one of the unofficial officials that was running cooking classes right out of my apartment for my fellow tenants, and I helped solve a lot of the neighbor drama. I'll just call it neighbor drama. But anyways, well, the reason why I did that is LITH is one of the programs. Federal and state programs such as HUD's 811 program, which we'll go over in a bit more detail, but to just kind of give you bare minimum real quick. I'm going to go here. So what is HUD? Section 811. Alright folks, so what we're going to be going over next week before we close out here. Provides funding to develop and subsidized rental housing for low-income adults with disabilities. So this is a program that is set apart from general HUD. It deals specifically in assisting in the funding and helping with the regards to assisted living apartments for people with developmental disabilities. We'll get into more of the details on that next time, but for right now, I think that's a bit enough for today. We're going to go ahead and close on out. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. Folks, please don't forget to get the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to get the comments. And as always, folks, please don't forget to make sure that you are still set up to receive notifications. We're going to have at least a couple more episodes for the Medicaid series before we close it on up, unless Trump decides to do something else completely insane. But we also are going to be continuing, of course, with Down the Rabbit Hole. We have our Advanced Directives series going on currently, the HIPAA series, and we are getting ready to start a brand new series that specifically has to do with the snake oil salesmen that prey specifically on disabled folk and disabled folks are parents. And that's quite a mighty rabbit hole, folks. So I don't want you to miss anything. Make sure you're set up for notifications. I appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do hope you have a good one. Now, I know the video I put up yesterday has no sound. I understand this. It's because I was having technical difficulties and I am technically challenged, okay? To be polite about it. I will deal with it, just not right now. We got too many things going on at once, and I spend pretty much the majority of my days continuously running around like a chicken with my head cut off or crocheting. I appreciate your time, everyone. Bye-bye now.